Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Best Darn Everything, our alternative show to our Simpsons podcast. We take a break to talk about any nerdy stuff that we pretty much feel like. And today, we are going to touch base with the now crazy evolved Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is just kicking off Phase 4, which is just honestly crazy to look back on. And we're going to dive into all of it. We're going to touch base with the past, look forward to the future, and just dive into thoughts and theories. And I've got a great guest joining us for that task today, like a taskmaster, if you will. But before we get to him, joining me, as always, your co-host with the most, Richie the Whiz Kid. How are you doing today, Rich?
I think I'm all marveled up now. I have Marvel overload, and I'm honestly okay with that. I've had a lot to catch up on here lately with Loki and the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier and Black Widow, and I'm psyched, man. I'm ready to talk about this. So let's get going. Let me throw it back to you, the man, the myth, the Marvel cinephile. It's Miles.
I feel like you've already touched on something that I'm excited to talk about as we get into this conversation. But before we dive in, he's been here before. Honestly, I'm blanking on what we discussed when you were here last time, but I know we had a really great time talking to you about whatever it was. So we invited you back today to share your thoughts and opinions on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Joining us today, comedian Zane Melton. How are you doing tonight, Zane?
Man, I'm ready to take a hold of this conversation with an iron fist.
Hey, I see what you did there. Nice, dude. Hey, man, before we dive into Marvel, why don't you update everybody? I know you're running comedy, and actually, you know what? I really want to hear like a quick review of, was it the Ultra Mega Tour that you went to yesterday? What was the name of the concert?
Oh my God. One of the best shows I've ever been to was tour. And it was
the Mega Tour.
Originally supposed to be the first stop, but COVID happened, and it was the first live concert that we Fall Out Boy did. So the fact that they were able to dust off and to give us a hell of a show is amazing.
That's really cool, man.
Kid an actual guitar, like they brought him on stage to play, and just. So I mean,
which band did that?
Green Day.
Oh, dude, that's nice. Really cool. Did Green Day headline?
Yeah, they did. It was Weezer, Boy, and Green Day.
Interesting. So okay, that's like one of those concert lineups. You could have it in any order. Like you really, I think, could have it in any order.
I don't. So I think Green Day has to headline every single time.
You don't think Weezer could do it? I'd give you the argument against. I like Fall Out Boy. I think they're big enough they could, but I would say it would easily be Weezer. I think could.
I feel like you should go by like age of like when you.
Green Day's been around the longest. For sure.
I feel like it should have been. Fall Out Boy should have opened. I feel like.
Yeah. So I mean, if we're going by stardom, we have Weezer at the bottom. With
Weezer should have been in the middle. I feel
you're saying Weezer had okay, Zane. It was nice catching up with you, but no, I'm just kidding. No, it's cool that it was a good. It was at the new Globe Life Park too, right?
Yeah, Globe Life Field. It was in that, but it was six, so we could hear everything. So,
see, I think that was a bonus because I know when I looked at tickets for that show way back when it was originally announced, it was going to be at the old ballpark in Arlington where the Rangers used to play. And I can't imagine the acoustics for a concert would have been good there. Like I maybe I'm wrong, but that just does not seem like a venue that was built with like good sound quality in mind.
It wasn't. That's why they only had country music.
I was going to say they used to put on a bunch of country music shows out there, but
nobody wanted to listen to that anyway, so we're good to go. That's awesome, man. And then, of course, you're still doing comedy. You're booking shows. You're performing on shows. You're online at what's your handle online?
On almost every platform.
Go follow Zane on whichever platform you choose to at Zane Melton Comedy. But today, sir, we're here to talk. Say again.
You can even find me on my.
Okay. That's a stretch, but you might catch a few late 30, early 40-year-olds that are like still hanging on for Tom. But for right now, we're here to talk and tackle a huge project tonight. I think it might be a little bit ludicrous to try to do this in one night, but we'll see what happens. We're touching base with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which started all the way back in 2008 with a little film called Iron Man. Has now just so many movies, several TV shows, over entire decade at this point. Zane, in 30 seconds, define the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Recap everything.
Honestly, you can't define it in 30 seconds, but if I had to, absolutely almost flawless. And
okay. Flawless and accurate. I like that. I think it's really kind of a testament to them as a franchise right now, because they got to a point where even as a fan of those movies, I have to say I was getting a little bit fatigued around the time the Endgame happened. Not that I wasn't excited to see it, but after I saw Endgame, it was just kind of like, okay, I feel like you've emotionally piqued me. What more do you want? Like, what more can we do now? But it's like they knew that, and the break that like we've had, the way they've come back into the moving the story forward, in this case with Black Widow by going back into the past. But by setting up with shows like WandaVision, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like Loki, which was incredible, I am now fully 100% like back where I am, like biting at the bit for the next Marvel hit. Like I am so ready to dive into what's coming next, which I believe is a film that I am like not familiar like with at all. Like did not ever hear about it until I saw a preview of this film for it coming out, and that I'm probably gonna mess this up, but I believe it's called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
I can't wait to see that, and I know nothing about Shang-Chi, but like the way they did the first teaser a while back with a bunch of martial arts stunts and things like that, and a kind of compelling story, it looks like I'm all in on that one already.
100% same.
Even with the like memes I've seen already, if anyone's ever watched Kung Fu Hustle, where they say Shang-Chi's the guy, the old man that fights with all the rings around his arm and that, which is hilarious. But yeah, I cannot wait for that one. It's got everything that I'm going to want. And not only that, I think we got freaking Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man bang bang right after that. So like it's man, like I
think Multiverse of Madness has actually been pushed to 2022.
Did it?
Yeah, I believe that.
Nope, I'm out. Goodbye.
I believe for the rest of the year what we have. So we already got for 2021. We already got Black Widow. Shang-Chi is next, and then we're gonna get the Eternals.
That's right, the Eternals.
And Spider-Man: No Way Home is also, I believe, slated for 2021. Yeah. And then starting with 2022 will be Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and the Marvels. And I believe 2023 kicks off Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which we've already teased with the Loki storyline that we might know who the villain for that is going to be. And then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which Guardians of the Galaxy is one of those films. One of the reasons it's like I'm excited about the Shang-Chi is because I did not know shit about Guardians of the Galaxy before I saw the Guardians of the Galaxy film. And now, after experiencing 2 movies and several video games that feature those characters, I am like so in on Guardians of the Galaxy.
And they're going to have to do the redemption of Star-Lord. Everybody hates Star-Lord still after everything that happened in the last 2 Avengers movies, which
sure, yeah,
I honestly,
it's kind of reasonable to dislike the guy, to be honest.
But I'm kind of in that boat, but at the same time, I understand he wanted to beat the hell out of Thanos because we're gonna. By the way, there's gonna be like spoilers out the ass.
Dude,
episode,
we're spoiling everything.
Yeah,
like
there's no
Marvel
reason
movies by now. Maybe we'll go light on Black Widow, but like everything else is just completely fair game for spoilers.
It's his love interest, his boo got tossed off the cliff and killed, and he finds out right then and there, the guy's literally being held back. You're gonna beat the hell out of him. Let's be honest.
He's emotional, man. That's all it is. And I just realized I said we're gonna
burn an entire freaking city of people on a freaking dragon, and that's okay. But people were a little upset about that too. But you get mad at him for punching Thanos like 5 times. I would have done the same thing. I'm with you,
dude. I realized I said that we're gonna go light on the spoilers for Black Widow, which I just want to point out, in case it wasn't very clear already, is a movie set in the 90s about a character who is already canonically dead in the story. Like, that's...
Wait, what?
That's crazy.
Wait, when?
Well, it starts in 95, and then it flashes forward to 2016, because it said 21 years later.
Yeah, it goes back and tells Black Widow's like childhood origin story, which is really interesting. I saw that one in theaters a couple weeks ago. Zane, have you had the chance to see that one yet?
This is my favorite Marvel movie right now.
Really? Black Widow? And that's a bold statement. I'd love for you to defend that.
Right now or later?
No, right now. Talk about it. Yeah. Tell us why.
Immediately, just the whole sequence was perfect. I enjoyed it.
Dude, that song, that remix, that cover
like
of Spirit. Yes, that was so. I agree with you there.
But just the story, the way it kept like pushing into the story, like you knew where it was gonna go, but like for the ride, like that's
okay.
How I felt. And
I don't think that I would put it as my favorite, but I definitely agree with you and your points of why it's good. I enjoyed the film quite a bit.
Man, I don't know how far we're going, but something they did is leading to one of the Marvel TV shows that they're doing.
So we are gonna spoil that. So we're gonna talk right now about the after credit scene of Black Widow, which I know everyone's wanting to talk about on this panel, so that's why we're just going to do it right now. So you just saw it, Richie. Maybe you should be the one to recap it. But the woman from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, who I do not remember why she's important.
Valentina de something. I forgot the other. She's got a super long name. But she's Madam Hydra. Let's just put that out there. That's who she becomes. Is Madam Hydra. Which Hydra is supposed to be gone at this point, but she's supposed to start a secret evil group of soldiers or something. The comics go every which way, but with her, it's going to be bad. She's like a double secret agent, and I'm sure they're going to make you feel like you never know what side she's on. Kind of like they were supposed to do with Black Widow, you would think. But yeah, she's going to be Madam Hydra. Let's be honest.
Okay.
But she is bringing along the next Black Widow, I guess. So, would you guys like to see Elena take over Natasha's role on like the Avengers?
So yes, but I was also going to ask you. My question was going to be: do you think Elena is going to become Black Widow, or do you think she's going to be seduced by Hydra or tricked by Madam Hydra into? Because like the way they presented at the end is they show her that Hawkeye is like troubled target that they need her help with. We know Hawkeye as a good guy in the story, but we also know that after what went down with the original Black Widow, he kind of what was the name of his character he changes into?
Ronan.
Ronan. There you
go. Yes to everything you said. I think that's all going to happen. Like here's my thing. I'm going to lay out my hypocrisy on being a Marvel fan. I think everything involving S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything involving or around Captain America is incredibly boring. Winter Soldier, incredibly boring. Black Widow, incredibly boring. Bucky, after he's not Winter Soldier, incredibly boring. Captain America, until he holds that hammer, pretty darn boring. So I feel like everything
so
about
boring
S.H.I.E.L.D.
he made you say darn in that sentence. I just wanted
exactly.
to point that
out. I think everything around S.H.I.E.L.D. is just S.H.I.E.L.D. is the most important factor because it's the one setting up everything, but I also think it's the most boring part. It's what's the best part of the first Avengers movies? It's seeing the Avengers squabble with each other. Take S.H.I.E.L.D. out of the equation, all that still happens. It's still incredibly fun. I feel like this Black Widow movie did a very good job introducing new characters that had nothing to do with S.H.I.E.L.D., and I think it made her story a lot more entertaining. And the fact that they're already going back to do a Hawkeye piece, I'm like, I don't need to see this. Either Hawkeye's going to win her over when she goes to kill him, or he's going to be like, yeah, I deserve this. Go ahead and kill me. My daughter's going to take the mantle from me anyways, and then I can finally be at peace. So like either way,
was that Renner you were just saying there, or the character?
There you go. Yeah. So I feel like that. I don't need to see that path. You know what would have been a better end credit scene for Black Widow? I can tell you right now what the best end credit scene would have been. Are you ready?
Oh God!
All through the movie, the Red Guardian is talking to people about how he fought Captain America. It's like his proudest story to tell.
Oh yeah,
and everyone's saying that he didn't do it because Cap was frozen in the 80s when he's saying that happened. So they should have done a mid-credit scene where him and Cap actually fight and Cap beats the snot out of him. And here's how they could have done it. Captain America technically was alive and well in the 80s because he went back in time to be with Peggy Carter. Therefore, could have been anywhere he wanted to be at any time. So that fight could have actually happened. He might not be lying. Like, that would have been hilarious. And he's talking a big game, but then you watch the end credits and he just gets the crap kicked out of him. That would have been freaking hilarious.
Are you trying to just completely like obliviate the TVD right now? Is that your goal?
Yeah. That would have been a much better end credit scene than the one that they went
for. Way to get to a contract.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that would have been funny. Is he got in a fight with like a Captain America impersonator, gets his ass kicked, and then still goes on to talk about how like epic of a battle they once had, and that's like, dude, no, you didn't. But he's like, I did. I almost beat Captain America.
And Chris Evans is in the background, like having a drink with Peggy or something.
Yeah,
he's shaking his head.
I kind of agree with you, and I read that scene actually wasn't supposed to be there. I read that scene was actually reserved for another. Was it supposed to be on Loki? I read that was supposed to be in another movie or another show that came out, but they ended up, because of COVID and because of the way everything got pushed, they ended up tagging it on the Black Widow.
It was always in the Black Widow, but this is supposed to be the first time you meet her.
That's
but because of COVID, they kept pushing Black Widow around, so they ended up introducing her on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, kind of being the mastermind behind all that crap as well. So again, I mean, Sam's interesting and Falcon's good at comedic relief, but another Cap tie-in that I'm just like, I don't really care what happens. They all could be wiped out, and I'd be like, whatever.
I felt like Falcon and the Winter Soldier was by far the weakest of the most recent 3 Marvel Disney Plus shows.
Okay.
Sorry, I kind of overtook that for a second.
Say again, Zane?
With that, but
it's not really. I could see why people like it. I will give that show credit. I thought it was really interesting that show dove into like the socio-political aspects of what the world would be like if there really was a blip, and then the blip got reversed. Because like a big part of that show had to do with the idea that the world actually did get better when half of the population disappeared, which was Thanos' plan all along, right? Like, it's kind of makes that whole question of was he right, wrong situation. Well, then all these other people come back, and now the world's a worse place than it's ever been. And I think that is really a good way to kind of set into motion, like get you excited to see what is going to happen to this world that we now inhabit moving forward. And honestly, even things I know, like Captain Marvel, for instance, was very frowned upon or disliked. I like that movie.
I own Captain Marvel. Like, I liked Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of that movie. It had my favorite Stan Lee cameo by far, hands down. The Kevin Smith reference was so good. But like, I really like what they're setting up with the Skrull, and I know that they do have Richie. I know you said you don't like the Shield stuff, but there's actually several TV shows set. We still have, of course, we're going to talk about WandaVision and Loki, but set in the future, we have a Hawkeye TV show, a Moon Knight TV show, which I'm
really excited for. Actually.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. She-Hulk, which I actually think could be pretty cool. I Am Groot, which is actually just going to be like a short animated show about adventures of Tiny Groot, which honestly, I'm in for it. And this is the interesting one, though. There's one called Secret Invasion, and that's going to star Samuel L. Jackson and the actor who played the main Skrull in Captain Marvel.
Okay.
And it's going to be essentially the idea of like the Skrull invading, Shield or whatever. And I think that is going to maybe flip your Shield theory on its side, because up to this point, you're kind of right. Captain America is very much a Boy Scout. A lot of the stories have revolved around him specifically. He's been the most prominent character in the MCU. And to some extent, there is a lot of it. It's just like, okay, this is super predictable, still fun to watch. I'm still down to pay my ticket for it. But
it's like Robin from How I Met Your Mother in it. How could I be upset?
I'm not surprised about where we're going, though. Like, we're all getting there. But I do think that when we get to that secret invasion aspect, it's going to really throw things around quite a bit. And just the fact that they are, at this point, doing this Herculean task of combining shows and movies.
Movie studios.
That have now been going on for 13 years. And admittedly, mistakes have been made. If you attempt to try to set everything in chronological order, you are going to have to practice some suspension of disbelief. But it's just part of comics, right?
I guess so. I want to talk about the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
No, I just want to get going.
Sorry. Dude, honestly, I'll be honest. I am almost struggling on where to go in this podcast so far. Very multiverse like, just because there is so much. I know I'm all over the place right now. So I guess if we want to go to the multiverse, the logical next step would be to talk about WandaVision and Loki. Which WandaVision I really enjoyed a lot. It was a lot of fun. I don't know how much it actually moved I think it moved the bigger story much, much slower than Loki did. But it was still a really good ride.
I don't think it moved.
Enjoyed it.
I don't think it moved the story at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just gave her like ultimate, basically, the Scarlet Witch. It let her figure out who she is, and gave her an antagonist kind of that I'm sure could break out of that town at some point. And it also tore away her love. So like Vision's gone, but you have this new white Vision he can still be in the cinematic universe.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. It added characters. It unleashed Wanda, but I guess in a bigger scale, it didn't really do that much. I did like a lot of the scenes we got with the agents in that show. I feel like they were a big fun part. But fine then, screw it. We'll just go right into Loki if that's what you two really want. Zane, what did you think about Loki, my friend?
Well, before we move on to mention the greatest thing, and
sorry, Richie,
we haven't mentioned yet.
What's
the fact that they recast.
Say again.
They recast who?
Pietro.
Oh, Pietro. Yeah,
that
wasn't his name.
Yeah, it was Jackoff or something. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Wiener. It was No, fuck. There is.
You reminded me of the bully in Accepted, where he's like, B? Yeah, let's go with B.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, ask me about my wiener.
That too.
Yeah, Zane. So that was a good point. That was I think that was a divisive point, though. People seem to get really upset about that to some extent, or they're upset that he wasn't a bigger part of it.
But they explained it. Like, it all made sense.
He was an actor, right?
Yeah, like
I really wish I could remember his name. It was something
it
was something very cheeky. While Richie looks that up, Zane, let's move on to Loki, just because we have a lot more ground to cover. We're still going to move on into the movies that haven't come out yet that we're excited for. But Loki did some crazy stuff. You definitely agree that Loki moved the universe forward, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, it moved it to where I feel like they should have gone with from home. I feel like they had a great moment to make Mysterio come from, and now they actually did it with this. I feel like.
See, don't you think that was such a great Mysterio move, though? We're going to immediately yield on Loki and go right to Far From Home. Don't you think that was such a genius troll move, though? for how they portrayed Mysterio. The fact that he was teasing multiverse, and then he's just a dude. He's just a dude that's good at magic.
Yeah, it's they teased it though. Like that was beautiful. Like
yes, it got you excited about it.
But here's the thing. No, for me, I was like, I called bullshit as soon as he said it. I was like, no, this universe 616 that we all abide by in the comics, like that's ludicrous. That's bullcrap. And then at the end, it's like, oh, you're right, that is bullcrap. But then the very next series that's on TV or the next movie, Black Widow, by the time that's out, it exists. We know now that it is real. Excuse me. So like I love that. It's kind of like a double secret agent almost, the theory itself. So
it was almost a Rickroll to some extent.
There you go.
Yeah. And then that movie also got crazy with the ending because J. Jonah Jameson, Mysterio's last big fuck you to Spider-Man, to Peter Parker, rather, is Peter Parker is exposed. We know, the world knows who Spider-Man is, and that is something that we've never really dealt with in the movie universe to any real degree. We had the scene, which was a great scene in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2, where he gets revealed to a subway train, and they all agree that like they should keep him a symbol of the city, which in modern day would never work because that shit would have already been on Twitter. But it was 2002. It's cool. But this is the first time that we're actually seeing what it's going to be like for a superhero to be completely exposed.
Well, that's easy. If the multiverse exists, you just have Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire
or both
stand next to Peter Parker, and then all of a sudden he's fine. I told you.
Is that how you think they're going to fix it? They're just
no.
Gonna have
I told you like 6 months ago how I think they're going to fix it. I think that Flash is going to accidentally figure out Peter Parker. Well, he already knows. I think Flash is going to
Flash from DC Comics. No, you're talking about Flash Gordon from his buddy.
Flash Gordon is a different property. Flash Thompson from the Spider-Man universe is going to end up with the suit on at some point with web swingers and all and be making an ass of himself. And it's going to be with Peter standing around so that he can prove that it's not him. I just think that is a better storytelling thing. But like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they went with a multiverse where another Spider-Man standing there with him.
Well, I mean,
I think the Flash one's more fun.
Loki, like, puts that multiverse.
Ralph Boner.
So that we could use.
Boner.
What was that?
Sorry, it's Ralph Boner was the name that they gave.
Every article is talking about how everyone's upset that he is the Quicksilver, and that means the multiverse exists. And I'm like, no, the dude was literally an actor. He says it like when they figure out that it's not really him. Like, get over yourselves, internet.
Sorry, Zane, you wanted to switch to Loki, and we're all here for it. What did you have to say?
Still on Far From Home, but I'm using Loki to
start.
I thought you were.
I'll start talking. So I mean,
that's what we're best at.
Well, I mean, Miles is for sure, but so we could eat a timeline. It's like and just some way easy. Oh, hey, Jameson, that wasn't me. Like that kind of shit.
Well, and I guess the fact that J. Jonah Jameson is like his reputation would be to print something immediately when he had the scoop. So it'd be kind of easy to like discredit him as a like journalist.
Yeah.
That could be fun. So Loki, probably for sure going to talk about this time. Dude, immediately, episode 1, we just take a big old dump on everything that was important that we all spent literally hundreds of dollars in theaters to witness over the last, at this point, 12 years now. And they're just like, that's not important anymore. Literally the thing that drives the entire plot of the entire first 3 phases, really, I guess second and third, really, of the MCU are the Infinity Stones, and they use these things as paperweights at the desk at the Time Variant Department or whatever it's called.
Time Variant Agency.
Yeah, TVA. Yeah.
Yeah, and
They like
do what?
that sucked how use the Infinity.
I thought it was hilarious.
I loved it, dude. Honestly, I felt like that felt like just like a really well-timed joke. Like,
you have to get Loki to stop caring about the Tesseract because that's why he wants it. So like that was a big pivotal part in the first episode. Is he literally escapes to go get the Tesseract, and then he sees he could take all the stones. He literally had all the Infinity Stones right there, even though magic and all that stuff doesn't work at the TVA. Like he could have had everything he wanted right then and there, and then he realizes how like unimportant it is in the grand scheme of protecting the Prime timeline. Or I forgot what it was actually called, but like I thought it was great. He even points out, well, the Avengers were time traveling and blah blah blah. And they're like, no, that was supposed to happen. So it's weird how like the Ancient One told Hulk in Avengers Endgame about branching timelines. If you remember, like they brought the theory up in an Endgame, and Hulk was talking about going back and giving the stones back. So like in a way that they didn't get to the Nexus point because you take the stones back before the Nexus point happens. So like it's really weird how they get wrapped up in their own mythology and they try to protect themselves in a way. But I really appreciate that at the same time.
100%. Yeah, it felt like really solid writing to at least try to make sense of what they've done to themselves.
It looks like I just destroyed Zane's brain for a second down there when I was talking about that.
That's just his face.
Like whenever I didn't even think about those branching timelines in Endgame.
Yep.
Yeah, those would have been. I think it'd be fair to say that there would have been TVA agents on site for all of those places, seeing, and then it's like, oh, it fixed itself. That's weird. All right, I guess we're going back home.
Speaking of which, because the TVA is supposed to show up relatively quicker after the Nexus event, or before the Nexus event's supposed to occur, right around, or I'm sorry, when the Nexus event is occurring. Confusing. The old man Loki, his Nexus event was not escaping the death by Thanos, because he lived for numerous years after that. And I think I even read this online. He said that he cast a projection of himself so that Thanos thought he was killing him, and then he hid in the shadows. That was what was supposed to happen, because he went and lived on a planet by himself till he became old. And he said, the moment I tried to leave the planet, the TVA got me. So that means, like, if you think about that, that dude escaped death, which means the original Loki that is now dead could have actually survived if he did that, but he just would have been, incredibly lonely for the rest of his existence.
Well, that kind of in the Galaxy 3. You can just appear again for no reason if they visit that planet.
It's the TVA existing can do all kinds of things for the cinematic universe. Like I bet they're going to start throwing lots of Easter egg stuff in there, or you'll see
like a doorway in the background, or one of those little bomb things sticking around.
Didn't I see a meme somewhere of somebody like the Hulk wearing the Miss Minutes shirt, or somebody like in Endgame wearing a Miss Minutes shirt? I saw that.
Is that photoshopped or is that legit?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to Google it now, but I thought I saw something.
I haven't seen that, to be honest. So that's crazy if it's true.
Honestly, my favorite meme right now is all the memes of people looking at Doctor Strange like this, and they're like, how Doctor Strange looks after WandaVision and Loki. Yes. He's got a mess to pick up in the Multiverse of Madness.
Dude, so we still have so much more Loki to talk about, but Multiverse of Madness, dude. That's one that I'm so excited about, because from what I've heard, they're claiming that one is going to be more in the style of like a horror film.
Yeah.
Which I think is crazy, but also so exciting because I am a huge horror fan. Honestly, though, I don't even really know what that means. Like, what does a Marvel Cinematic Universe horror movie look like?
It makes me think.
Say again, Zane?
Maybe like what they've tried to do with New Mutants in the X-Men universe.
I'll be honest, I didn't see that. I heard it was awful, but I just didn't see it because I haven't gotten around to it. But I don't know the reference.
They tried to make it into a horror film. Like they tried to branch off into a new X-Men movie, and it was horrible.
It just didn't work. Well, hopefully that won't be the same fate for Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange was another one of those films that really surprised me how much I enjoyed it when I first saw it.
And that's what Marvel's been good at, is getting you. Like, I didn't give two shits about Thor before
So
I saw the first Thor
I
movie,
knew that was
and
going
that
to
was
go up. Yeah,
such a fun ride. And
that
even
was
like,
so good.
I'm sorry, I don't like, fight me. I don't care. Iron Man, incredibly boring as a character, incredibly boring. He's a ripoff Batman. Everybody knows it, but freaking perfect actor, perfect time, perfect director to help him. Like, and look at what Iron Man has turned into over the last 13 years. It's just, they've done well with properties nobody cares about. Guardians of the Galaxy, they've been around for years, but they made you care about them. I'm really interested to see what they do with the Fantastic Four, because I think the Fantastic Four is at its core a very, very boring group of characters. Like, I really don't care about the Fantastic Four.
See, I think they have some of the more interesting power. Like Mr. Fantastic, like just like I think done well, they could actually be really cool.
Now,
if they're done well.
Are they, when they do the Fantastic Four movie, are going to do like they did with the Spider-Man film, new one that they did, where they did the intro story? We all know how Spider-Man was born. Are they just going to jump into like Fantastic Four, or are we going to get the?
Are they going to address the Chris Evans situation? Is all I want to know.
I think if they're smart, they will do it the way they did Spider-Man.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Zane, like to your point, we all know how they get started. We do not need to see them go to space again. Like, we've seen that done poorly a couple times on film. We don't need, like, I think 3, believe it or not, but we all know it. Let's just have them come into play a different way.
Well, to tie it back to Loki, from what I have read, I've never been big on Kang the Conqueror, but apparently one of his big downfall moments comes with the massive amount of help and support of the Fantastic Four. So I definitely think that this is all very carefully planned. So, I mean...
Well, and to that point, actually, most of the Marvel Phase 4 movies at this point already have at least a year assigned to them, with 2 exceptions, and that's Blade and the Fantastic Four. So they might be kind of, like, to your point, they might be kind of holding that one until it makes sense to insert them, because they need to execute the Kang the Conqueror.
Can we talk about Jonathan Majors, the guy playing He Who Shall Remain, or He Who Still Remains, whatever his name was?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Jonathan Majors.
We're cutting from the first episode to the last episode of Loki at this point.
Yeah.
For it's worth.
There's a bunch of useless crap that happens in the middle, but still very fun.
I have one major complaint I'm going to talk about, but talk about Jonathan Majors first.
I thought Jonathan Majors stole the last episode of Loki. He was so darn good, and I never watched the HBO show that he was on. That made that everyone's the one, it got canceled, and I heard it was like so well received that it already got canceled and there's no season 2. But
I don't know what show that you're referring to.
I just thought, like, he was.
Wait, was it something country? The author with the monsters?
Yeah, exactly. The Love and Country or whatever it was.
Lovecraft Country. I heard that was really good, and I do want to see that.
I always did too, and now I hear that it's upset a lot of people that it didn't get renewed. But like, he was, I believe, the main character in that. But like, he was so good in episode 6 of Loki, and like, I was so intrigued by everything he was doing. So he wasn't really necessarily a villain, even though he says we're all villains here. So Zane asked me before we got on the show who my favorite villain was, and I completely forgot. There's a brand new one right in front of us that we're definitely going to be seeing more of down the road. Whether he was a Mortis in this, which it sounds like he was, or will be Kang the Conqueror in the future, which it looks like he might already be. Like, I'm very intrigued by him. He did a very good job, and he even says, "I'm just a normal guy." So like, it's not even really like he has any kind of superpower, so to speak.
I mean, he definitely has abilities because he's able to like apparate and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I do love that so much that we basically set up the entire arc of Loki. One is incredible about giving us the opportunities to now have variants, which variants are just fun. In general, we get to see different. I mean, in this case, we saw like probably a dozen or more different versions of Loki. And to think that that's possible for literally every character in the MCU is kind of nuts. Actually, this one is listed as one of the TV series in the Marvel Phase 4. It feels out of place, to be honest, but there's a show coming to Disney Plus called What If?
Yeah.
And that's literally them just taking the idea of Marvel characters and saying, what if we did this instead? Like, what if Peggy Carter got the Captain America powers first? That's really what the whole variant concept asks. I mean, realistically,
it can play hand in hand almost.
Yeah. They might even get ideas for their movies from that.
I'm just like, hey, fuck you.
So with Loki, they made you care. They kind of did the same thing that the MCU did in just 8 episodes instead, but they made you care so much about finding this end of the time, the place where it all ends, where the true timeline flows. They set up this big bad. You get there, you spend this entire arc conquering Sophie, teaming with Sophie, traveling across timelines, and then you get there, and this like just pompous son of a bitch is
they Matrix 2 you'd. But they made you like it.
They did it good.
Yeah.
It didn't piss you off like it did when Trinity was dying, falling off a ledge, and the guy's just like showing you shit on a monitor. Nothing matters. Which is also true here, but like it also doesn't piss you off.
I also am pretty sure that Sylvie is the Enchantress and not actually a Loki, and I think that's what's going to happen in season 2. But we'll see about that.
Or they do officially say at the end that they are coming back for a season 2, which is cool.
If you Google the Enchantress's real name, it's Sylvie. So
yeah,
and she has the power to enchant people. So I'm pretty, or the Enchantress is just a Loki reimagined. I don't know.
That's kind of neat that they could literally take it either way with that.
Yeah.
But much like they did with the Marvel movies where you like cared so much about things and then it didn't matter, like the Infinity Stones, they made you care so much about this villain at the end. And then literally his whole thing was like, it doesn't matter if you kill me. Honestly, I wouldn't do that if I were you, because I'm probably not the worst version of me, but I'm keeping the worst version of me at bay. So if you only want like a semi-annoying version of me and not just like the complete like utmost douchebag awful version of me, then you should probably just chill over there. But Sylvie's blinded by rage. She wants revenge for what has been her life, and she had a tough one if everything we know about her is true, so it's kind of understandable. It's sympathetic at the very least, much like you brought up Star-Lord at the beginning. It feels like a human way to act if you are that emotionally invested in killing somebody and then you get the opportunity to do so. But it turns out this guy probably wasn't lying, and it does in fact seem that Loki not only has this on the way, but now he's in a universe where this alternative version of himself, not of Loki, of the bad guy, has like taken over the TVA. And
any backstory on Kang and Immortus and all them is, who he has the hots for if you've Google searched Kang the Conqueror at all, and it's someone by the name of Ravonna Renslayer, who was literally the first person in command of the TVA. So like it all adds up. It's all stuff that could have been logically put together for that. So like he wants her to be in a good spot, and there's stories about her being in other timelines and completely like obscure jobs, like a school teacher or something like that. So like all these Easter eggs and story elements all play in together in Loki, and that's something that like I honestly think Loki himself might be the most boring part of the show. Like everything else around him, even the alligator Loki was
even if you say that, I just want to say Tom Hiddleston is like the best. Like he is such a good actor. Oh my god.
I said I think Loki is overplayed before I started watching the series. I think Loki's a one-trick pony, and I never believe a dang word he says. The show, I find myself questioning, is this his motive? And by the end of the season, I'm like, no, he's really like speaking his mind and his heart right now. And like, there was a great transformation, I feel like, through the episode 1 to episode 6 with Tom Hiddleston doing that. And it made me appreciate him, and it really made me appreciate the character of Loki, even though this isn't our Loki, because our Loki's gone. This is a variant Loki.
Important that we know that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But the other thing I wanted to say about just the show in general that I thought was hilarious is the first 2 episodes with Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston. Their wardrobe and their demeanor and the way they were going around, it reminded me of Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman in Seven. Absolutely reminded me of that. And then when I was watching, Miles recommended an Easter egg show on YouTube after each episode where it tells you a lot of backstory. The director literally did that on purpose, like literally wanted Seven vibes. So they did that on purpose. And I thought that was great because that's what it looked like. His outfit with the trench coat and the tie, like I felt like I was watching Brad Pitt in Seven.
And a lot of those scenes too, especially early on when you see Loki learning of the truth about the world he lives in, is really emotional to watch. And that's all Hiddleston, just kind of his performance there is truly impressive. I said I wanted to talk about one disappointing thing with Loki, and I will say that I'm sure, or at least I like to let the hope live on, that they're going to resolve this in an upcoming project. But how did we at no point get Mobius on a jet ski? Like, how did that not happen? I just wanted one scene where we see him like living the good life in some alternate timeline where he's just riding a jet ski and enjoying, because he has like this weird obsession with like the perfect vehicle created in the 1990s. He has jet ski magazines on his desk. Like,
he's also drinking an energy drink from the 90s too, the Shasta or whatever it is.
Season 2.
Yes, like season 2, man.
And also I did love that obviously fake and play, but the first episode too, I love where we find out Loki was DB Cooper. That honestly,
that was a really good story.
That makes more sense than any official story that the government has come up with for that too. Like, oh yeah,
he lost the bet before.
He hit the Bifrost and like took off to Underworld or whatever the hell it's called.
Underworld.
He's got to go fight some lichens, dude. Calm down. So we're gonna go all the way back around in the circle here for a minute. So we that's kind of where we're at, leaving, or I guess technically, Loki was part of Phase 4. So the WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Loki, and now Black Widow are what we've been given for Phase 4 so far. And I feel like it's almost a weird choice that they've made where, okay, they give us these 3 shows to kind of, get the juice flowing, get everybody salivating for more. And then they're like, well, now we're going back in time to tell you about a character that you already know about. And then we're going to tell you next about a character that most of you probably don't know anything about. And those that do probably don't know how we're going to tie it into the story that we're already telling. And then Eternals. I'm going to be honest. I know very little about the Eternals.
Well, they all died in Game of Thrones and then got reincarnated.
See, I didn't watch that.
Eternal beings. No, I'm just yeah. Eternals is one, but I'm interested to see what they do with it. And I mean, they've always been there, but they're not allowed to interfere. I'm getting from the preview, and I messed up because when they first announced the Eternals, I was thinking of the mutants that live on the moon. I can't remember their names right now, but like the what?
The Inhumans?
Yeah, the Inhumans. Yeah. Like I was mixing those up because I was thinking of Crystal and everything because I freaking love Crystal and the game we play all the time. Black Order. Yeah,
Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Yeah.
So
I just like. We can definitely talk more about the Eternals. I would love to learn about them, but I just find it so weird that that's the order. They go dead character you know nothing about, group of characters you likely know nothing about, and then it will be all the way in December before we get Spider-Man No Way Home, which I think is the next time that we're really going to explore the multiverse. And then we kick off 2022 with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and Madness is going to be exactly what that movie's about.
Well, here's my... like it's kind of the I feel like they did with Ant-Man. Like I had no idea going to go with that whole universe or what was going to happen with it, and then suddenly the end credit scene just made a whole lot of sense. Brought up, Civil War and Ant-Man 2 basically set up Endgame. Possibly these that we know absolutely the Shang-Chi would have about Black Widow up something that we will absolutely blow our minds.
I definitely think there's going to be like an end credit or mid credit sequence that is going to, like you said, blow our minds or jump into attaching them in some way. But my prediction is with Shang-Chi, we will largely have a story that we have in, like, it will almost feel like it doesn't exist in the same universe to some extent as the vibes that getting from that trailer. But then I fully expect at some point, either in the third act or in the post-credit scenes, for it to all come together and find its way into this overarching story.
Now, here's my question about the 10 Rings. Are they at all going to address the terrorist organization, 10 Rings, up in or is that just...
Is that the tie-in? Honestly, I haven't seen Iron Man 3 in so long. I forgot that was a thing.
That could be a whole thing at the start of the movie where they're recapping or seeing newspaper articles or recasts of like the Mandarin from Iron Man 3. They're like, this has brought a sour name on us. That do what thing?
Did a short film where they actually the bad guy from Iron Man 3 Mandarin, but didn't show who the Mandarin was, so they could forget at the beginning of the movie. Since we haven't seen
might be
a long time.
That might be something where Shang-Chi's fighting to take the name back because it's some family cultural thing where he has to reclaim it, and even though he doesn't want the power, it'll be thrust upon him whether he wants it or not. But in all honesty, if the bad guys just would leave him alone, then they would never have to worry about him. But the fact that they go after him makes him reclaim his own rightful heritage for no reason whatsoever. It's a whole Lion King thing, you know? They bring about their own demise by not leaving well enough alone.
Is Shang-Chi's father going to get run over by a herd of like elk or whatever they were?
Yeah, his uncle will be the one in charge, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It'll be something along those lines.
You know, you guys talking about that reminded me of two things, one sad and one happy. I'm going to dive into the sad one first. I think that's the right move. One of the movies coming up in Phase 4 is Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I know that the big question, what are they going to do with the fact that Chadwick Boseman sadly passed away, I believe, in 2019?
And his voice is in What If. So, like, the Black Panther voice in the What If series coming up is actually his voice. It was, like, the last thing he did.
Oh, I didn't hear that. That's actually kind of cool. But, yeah, I mean, how do you predict they're going to handle it? Is there anything that you hope that they're going to do to handle it? Like, I am honestly at a complete loss. The only thing that I've heard that I think is kind of cool is having her sister take the mantle, or his sister take the mantle in film. But they're going to have to be treading so lightly no matter how they go about this, because they're dealing with a really fragile thing, and something that I don't know that I know we've had to deal with movies where like actors have died and been replaced and whatnot, but never on this scale where like
it can go on for 10-15 years.
Yes. Yeah.
I heard that they were doing 2 test screens, with one of them being the sister and one of them being the guy that led the other tribe that comes back and helps them at the end. I heard that they let both of them kind of play the role to see how it tested well with audiences. Me personally, I feel like the sister was like funny and charming, and also a lot of smart assery in her. And like as a viewer, I would want to see her take it over more so.
She would almost give Black Panther Spider-Man vibes in a good way. Like, when he's got that little snark, or she would have that snarkiness to her. Yeah, I think that would be really cool. And I think also in some ways that also helps
keep
with
it in the family.
Well, that, and I was going to even go on to talk about something like the concept of representation, where obviously in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we have a ton of male and female characters, but sometimes people get really hung up about weird stuff. They're like, Batman can't be a girl. I know that's DC or whatever, but like, you know, like this is like made up stories. We can pretty much do whatever they want. Like, and the idea that Black Panther is like a title or a mantle that you can achieve, and to have another gendered character take that would be really cool. And you know what? Backtracking to Loki, I actually wanted to comment. I thought it was really cool that they made Loki openly bisexual on a Disney Plus show. I thought that was a move that I didn't necessarily expect. they did it in a really cool way where it was just in a casual conversation, and it was just like, yeah, that's who I am as a person, and it shouldn't change your opinion of me, basically.
I thought he never really claimed anything. I thought
he openly in a conversation he had, he openly said that he had basically been with a fair number of men and women.
Well, I mean, he's a freaking god. Like, he doesn't.
Yeah, he's a hedonist is really what he is. Yeah.
So that's what I mean, like, he kind of just brushed it off. Like, it was just.
I felt like it was for a Disney Plus show. I felt like it was pretty damn like a good step for the House of the Mouse, if you will, with their past and situations like that.
But I know we're not talking about it, but
we're talking about everything, Zane. Just everything. Sorry.
The Channel show as the first openly lesbian main character.
The Mighty Ducks, yeah. Oh, main characters. I was gonna say the Mighty Ducks have lesbian moms now. What show is it?
It's called The Owl House.
Yeah. Honestly, it's neither here nor there. I just thought, while bringing up the concept of that, I think that would be cool. I thought that was cool in Loki, and I think it would be cool for the sister to take over in Black Panther. And honestly, that leaves the ability for that other guy, the alternate tribe leader, to still be a character. And he could be the voice of, like, a woman can't be Black Panther, and like blah blah. And then she, like, sarcastically like whips his ass with aerobics or whatever.
No, without even touching him.
Yeah, like she tricks him into like running off a cliff or something.
Yeah.
And it's very like Wile E. Coyote. He has time to like hold a sign like, oh, I wonder if girls fall as fast as boys.
I don't know. I would want to see a sequel to Black Panther. Like how he actually became Black Panther.
I assume you mean the person before Chadwick?
Like his father?
A younger version.
Oh, okay. So you'd recast the character younger.
Yeah.
See, I feel like that gets complicated real quick.
I mean, it could work, but it's at this point, by the time that movie comes out, I feel like they need to be in the middle, if not pushing forward with Phase 4, because all the stuff starting with the second Spider-Man movie is just filler. Like, even all these shows, Loki at the end is, yes, pushing the story further, but the Eternals, I'm going to bet right now, the Eternals don't really push the story further because they're going to exist all throughout the time all the Phase 1, 2, and 3 movies were going on.
Except for probably an after credit scene.
Yeah, except for maybe the very end. And it's basically a placeholder until they decide now's the time that we're going to get fully going. And that might be with Spider-Man 3 or Doctor Strange 2.
Honestly, I think those two movies are going to connect into each other a lot more than we might expect.
Yep, I think so too. And I'm still very curious about who the Doctor Strange 2 bad guys is. Is it going to be Mephisto? Is it going to be Nightmare? Freaking Owen Wilson literally talks about nightmares being the other department in the TVA.
Yeah,
so, like,
and Mephisto was teased heavily during WandaVision to the point that it became like a parody of itself.
Yeah, so like there's so much there that you could just dive right into, and Scarlet Witch is supposed to be in the Multiverse of Madness. So I that's the stuff I'm intrigued in. And I got to go back to what Miles, what you said a little bit earlier in the episode here. I was a little worn out too towards the end of Phase 3. I was like, we've been on this journey together. I've been happy watching all this stuff. I've been excited to watch all this stuff, but I literally don't see how they're going to make me care after Phase 3 is over. There's no way they're going to make me care anymore. The big bad is defeated. Nobody can be worse than him, blah, 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 all this other crap. And like, they've been very sneakily clever about how they're doing it. It's almost like they just want to give you a little sample of things. And that little sample, you're like, crap, I want more. Well, now we got to wait. Well, screw you too, Marvel. Screw you, Kevin Feige.
Yeah,
like, it's such a brilliant plan. Like, it's been paying off.
Yeah, they're doing it really well, and I do think that they kind of like really whet our appetites with this whole Loki payoff. And now I think they're going to punish us a little bit, like we've talked about. They're going to give us some. I'm not going to call it filler because I think it's interesting. I just think that it's not going to be strong like narrative push because we're introducing new characters, and then again, I think with Spider-Man, we're going to get hit in the face with a whole lot of crazy.
Ooh.
Speaking of a whole lot of crazy, the more happy thing I wanted to bring up that I saw this week that is really cool. You may have seen that Deadpool has now officially made his debut into the MCU in the most Deadpool of ways. It's actually really funny. There's a movie called, I think it's called The Good Guy. It's like Free Guy. There you go. It's a Ryan Reynolds movie. Looks like it's a video game world. Actually, I'm pretty intrigued by it. I saw previews pre-pandemic, and then I was really bummed that it got delayed. But in this Deadpool debut, they have Deadpool with fan favorite Korg from the Thor Ragnarok movie, the buddy in that buddy film, if you will, and they actually review the Free Guy trailer, which of course is hilarious because Deadpool is of course played by Ryan Reynolds. But I thought that was actually kind of a clever way to introduce a admittedly controversial character into this other system that they have, because Deadpool does not naturally fit into the style of films that have filled the MCU so far.
Well,
so if Deadpool is in the Avengers, what do you do?
They had a game a while back that I absolutely love to quote, and most of the movie, so they are allowed fuck.
Yep.
I try to save that fuck until the very end of the movie, and then someone else is going to take it. Who's going to lose it?
And then he could be like, "You mother beep, 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 beep."
No, I'm calling an audible on that. I think it's going to be the very first scene. Deadpool's going to come out and go like, "Let's just get this out of the fucking way."
And then all the kids are going to be like, "Mommy, I want the fucking Deadpool toy."
That's going to here.
Oh my god. Now with 12 fucking poses. Oh man, yeah, that's gonna be. I don't think that's gonna happen until I guess Phase 5. I don't even know what they're planning to do with that.
If they were smart, they would have a Deadpool cameo in Spider-Man 3. Like honestly, everyone wants to see Ryan Reynolds with Tom Holland. If they just if they're gonna do multiverse things, they should have a Deadpool cameo, even if it's just in the background, with him holding a picture of Spider-Man saying autograph this, please.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
And then Spider-Man's like, "Who are you?" This weirdo in a weird costume, and then that's all they do. That would be fantastic. And this film review thing. It's just a small thing, but he's breaking the fourth wall the whole time while doing it, and they're gonna have to do that a few more times, or just a small little bit here and there. Just do it in a very Deadpool way, and then it'll be more of a natural fit if he actually has to show up.
Yeah, I think that's clever.
Instead of, I don't know if you already said this, but I feel like you should say
okay, I could see that. He's actually Deadpool, because he's Deadpool is actually saying the actor's name instead of Spider-Man's name. That's fun. I do like that, actually. That's really funny. Zane
with Professor X.
Oh yeah,
that was really funny.
McAvoy or
which one, Stewart or McAvoy?
Yeah, that was good. Zane, you got really excited actually about Tom Holland when we talked earlier. Is this your favorite Spider-Man so far?
He is my favorite Spider-Man. The reason I got excited, and when you said you didn't. You don't remember when you brought me up last time. We talked about.
That's right, and Uncharted.
Holland, 7.
Yeah, we were supposed to hashtag him.
Damn, dude, man.
And now
somebody told me that marijuana affected something, but I can't remember what it is.
Next time you get me, God, it needs to be a whole Tom Holland episode.
Honestly, he's another dude I think is fun to talk about. I think one of the funniest things about the MCU behind the scenes is the fact that Tom Holland is so bad at spoiling shit that they have stopped telling him information. They're like, "No, you are not trustworthy. We can't tell you things anymore."
Use it to a funny advantage too. The last trailer, but the reveal of the next Spider-Man movie. they use know he's not trustworthy to reveal the name.
Oh my god, that's funny.
He walks out of the office and he goes, "Yeah, they're not going to tell the name. I guess I'm not trust." Starts walking away and it says "No Way Home."
Yeah, I do. I remember that. That was good. But just the idea that he just gets so excited. It's honestly really fun that he's so excited about stuff that it's like hard to keep it in. It's not like he's leaking it maliciously. He's just he's a lucky kid is what he is. You get to play Spider-Man, for crying out loud.
I can't say for sure yet at this point if he's my favorite Spider-Man. My issue is that, like, when I think of Spider-Man, I don't think of Spider-Man while he's in high school. I think of Spider-Man like as he's an adult trying to pay rent and trying to be there for the people he cares about. And I want to see, like, 10, 12 years from now, if he's still playing the role, what Peter Parker becomes. Because that's what I think is real interesting. And I know his contract, if Sony and Marvel are smart, they'll work all the details out and get him signed for more films.
Tobey Maguire or the other
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield.
Not 2099, but like a Spider-Man coming to Spider-Man or something.
I thought that was something else in Loki. They said that his time frame ranged to 2099 in one of the files in Loki, from what I heard on Easter egg.
That's a good
so
Easter egg.
He could be in that universe.
Yeah,
at some point.
That's definitely a good Easter egg. They really do. They have a ton. It's kind of overwhelming. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I want to ask you guys. I think I probably know the answer for me and Miles, but I'm honestly not 100% sure of the announced movies. Which ones are you guys most looking forward to? Just one.
Zane, would you like to go first?
It really depends if they're including Sony movie, because
let's say yes. I was actually going to talk about that point next, so I'm glad you did that. So let's say for your question next, yes, we are.
Yeah, 100%. We get at Vulture in a different movie, and the fact Vulture in it, but also Carnage, one of the greatest villains of all time.
And Woody Harrelson looks really good for this role.
Yeah,
y'all. He looks really good for this role.
And it's up Agent Venom. Like, if we really feel like it later on, easily make Flash Agent Venom.
Interesting. So, since you brought that up, I want to get to there. I'll answer Richie's question real quick. For me, it's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's a lot to do because they've announced it as a horror film, or at least inspired by horror films. I think that sounds interesting. But I just feel like that is going to be. I think that No Way Home is going to kick off, like you said, Richie, like kind of like putting it into the next gear, and then Doctor Strange is just going to take that pedal and put it all the way through the metal, and in terms of like how crazy it's going to get. So I think I'm most excited about that. But Zane's answer does bring up a good point. We want to talk about the crossovers. Richie, which one are you most excited about before we move on to that?
I definitely think it's Multiverse of Madness. I've become quite the big Doctor Strange guy over the past few years, and I think it's a very interesting character. And with all this zaniness that's going to be around there as well, I can't wait to see what they do. And I'm worried that we're building it up too much, and it's going to be a disappointment. Like that's
always the risk with expectations versus what you actually get. But
maybe in another multiverse, it was really, really good.
There's actually only one, Richie, where the movie succeeds. So hopefully we're in that one. But Zane, you brought up such a good point. I feel like this episode's get on the long side, but we got to touch this. They now have a Sony deal in place. It has been made. It's not like a complete merging of companies yet. It could go that way, but at least for the time being, we have the X-Men. We have Venom. We have these side projects that are going to be intertwined into the MCU. And oh my God, does that open up just a whole new layer of like what the fuck can happen in these movies? Because it does raise the question. I guess the Multiverse of Madness has the opportunity to answer all of this, but like the introduction of the X-Men seems like such a monumental task at this point. Like, how are they going to do it?
Who's going to play Wolverine?
Honestly, that's a great question. What's that?
Wolverine, though, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah, sure. Wolverine in the comics. Sure, I get that. I've already introduced so many characters in the X-Men. I don't even think, honestly, any of them. Just, they're getting older now. You could easily cast that you have and put them in the same universe. Like, it's almost easy. You have to see how it goes with Multiverse of Madness, of course. But, like, I don't even need to recast. Like, you can. I get it. If you need Wolverine, John Krasinski. Like, if I'm really thinking about it, I would love to see him.
Hugh Jackman signed on to return as Wolverine.
Oh. Hugh Jackman has signed on?
Recently, I thought I read an article saying that Hugh Jackman is coming back to play Wolverine in something.
Well, then I
would love to see that for Deadpool 3, honestly, more than anything
Maybe
else.
That's what it is. That would be very interesting. But then Hugh Jackman would exist within the MCU. But I want recasting. I want new actors.
Same.
Hugh Jackman wasn't that well known.
We remade every single X-Men like 3 different times. Angel, we recast it twice.
Which they had the better actor. The first Angel cast, freaking Ben Foster. Ben Foster is one of my favorite actors, and he was totally underutilized.
He's completely wasted in that. But honestly, The Last Stand was kind of just a mess anyway.
Yeah.
It's still fun to watch. I still, there's lines in it I really enjoy. I love Kitty Pryde making a Juggernaut run into the wall, for instance. That's fun. But it's definitely a disappointment of what it could have been. Yeah. I think they would either need to ignore that those movies exist at all, or do something like they're going to do with No Way Home, where they do exist kind of in the same way that the Andrew Garfield and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans exist. But we need fresh faces. We need a new cast of mutants to come in. And I do think that we do need, for the MCU specifically, of that like OG X-Men class, where you gotta have Wolverine, you gotta have Cyclops, even though he's kind of boring, he's still an important part of their story. Storm, you can't do the X-Men without Storm, bro. Like, you just can't.
But I mean, if you go OG, then it's not Wolverine. You're gonna have freaking Iceman, Beast, Jean Grey, Angel, like the
yeah, that's fair. That, if you're going old school comics, I guess I was referring to like the animated series and whatnot. Like, honestly, I think Jubilee would be a fun character to see done in a movie.
That's what you go, Jubilee or Dazzler, like one or the other.
You can only do one, yeah. I like Jubilee better of the two because I'm more familiar with her from the cartoons. What'd you say, Zane?
Gambit.
Gambit's my favorite of all time, dude. Like, I want Gambit. Like, and Gambit was another one that in the movie was just not great. And
who do you cast to play Gambit? I know Channing Tatum was attached for that movie that never came out, but like, who do you cast to play? I'd see John Krasinski more.
I was going to say that. I would say John Krasinski as Gambit way more than I'd say Wolverine.
It's twang that has to be with the character.
Well, I mean, he's an actor. He can learn.
Yeah, dude. I think he'd be all right.
As long as he gives us 5 gym poses to the camera throughout the whole movie.
It's going to be really tough if they can exclusively only hire people from the Bayou to do the role. That's going to be
Bobby Boucher.
Yeah. His mama said he'd do it.
Mama,
guys.
Deadpool.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
As
Say again. I'm so sorry, dude. You're breaking up on me. Say what you just said one more time.
Funny if Deadpool saw John Krasinski as Gambit.
Yeah. It would also be really interesting in that avenue if you had Colossus or Negasonic Teenage Warhead or any other character that he's already met in the Fox realm, and he had to say something about it.
That's interesting too, actually.
he runs into that I forgot his name, but he was the agent in Ant-Man 2 and WandaVision.
Oh yeah, the agent at the end.
Yeah, that guy. It'd be funny if that across him was like, Jim?
That could be good. I would be down for those types of breaks. Guys, this episode's been all over the place. I've kind of expected that. It's fine. We've pretty much touched at least a little bit on just about everything that's going on right now. So I guess we'll just do some final thoughts. Zane, if you have anything at all that you want to say about past movies, future movies, or Marvel at all, bring it up and let's go.
To bring up the fact that I found out that I thought was absolutely awesome. This is an attempt at a Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Go on.
Remember a long time ago whenever they had the Incredible Hulk team?
Sure, yeah.
Daniel Banner, whatever the hell his name was. That
Lou Ferrigno. You're talking about Lou Ferrigno's Hulk? Oh shit, they did, and they had Captain America on that for sure.
They didn't have Captain America because he was tied up in other. But they had Devil, and they were going to bring in and but those got canceled. Like a Thor television show that went with the Lou Ferrigno show, and then they were going to make a Devil show, but both of those were TV movies.
You know, of those, of the ones you just mentioned, I know you're talking about a different Daredevil show, but the Daredevil Netflix show is the only character from that series that I'm just like super stoked to see show up in the MCU, to be completely honest.
Spider-Man 3 is supposed to be in it.
Yep, I've heard.
Charlie Cox.
Yeah. I guess I would be cool with the Punisher as well, but honestly, Iron Fist and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are all just kind of meh.
Come on.
I'm in the same boat.
This was amazing.
Really? I don't know, man. I guess I don't know enough about the character.
I'm Danny Rand. My voice doesn't change throughout the entire series.
Iron Fist is your favorite Marvel character?
Then you should be the most upset about the Iron Fist show.
I am upset. I'm happy that they didn't fuck up more.
Okay, so if they were to bring Iron Fist into the MCU at this point, would you want them to recast it or bring that same guy back?
Same guy. He's absolutely perfect.
Even though he only has one voice, according to Richie. I never watched that show. I'll be honest. I was burned out. It had some interesting story elements to it, but I felt like he was supposed to be better. Mm-hmm. I don't know how else to put it.
That's fair. That is interesting, though, Zane. Though, back to your original point, the original crossover. I'm now like remembering like the old Captain America movie or show or whatever it was, and I could have sworn now that they had a crossover, but I guess not. It must have been the other characters. But that's kind of fun that this is like the second take. It's going considerably better this time,
and monetarily better.
Yeah. What about you, Rich? Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up, old or new, about these movies and shows that we've come to love?
Well, to make it segue a little bit better, you kind of stole my thunder a little while ago. But when you talked about...
What was it, your love in Thunder?
No. But about Charlie Cox, because I'm really interested now that they're pulling him in. I'm interested because they've literally listed like a lot of villains from the Spider-Man movies over the years that are coming back in the new Spider-Man. So like I said Multiverse of Madness, but like as Miles and anyone who knows me knows, I'm a Spider-Man guy for now and forever. So I really hope that they don't mess it up. But yeah,
it's a reasonable request. They're taking on a very risky task with the next Spider-Man film, it seems. So yeah, I think that there is an aspect that all of us are kind of sitting on the edge of our seats a little like, what the fuck are they about to do?
But that's also a really good feeling at the same time. Mm-hmm. That was the point I was going to wrap around to. They really haven't misfired on too many things throughout the 24 movies they've done now and numerous TV shows. Like it's enjoyable enough that we're talking about it for an hour and a half and in a super summed up version. Like they've done a good job at casting for the most part on most of the roles. So I feel like they've earned our trust, but also because we aren't Immortus. We don't see the next page. We don't know what's written in the future, if it's going to be a success or a failure. Spider-Man will make a crap ton of money just because it's Spider-Man. But like, I hope it's good, man. I hope it's good. They've got us entertained, and they're going to keep entertaining us. So, oh wow, let's just sit back and get ready for some multiversal madness.
Dude, and on that note, this has been the podcast of madness everywhere. All the possible opportunities or options that we could have taken, we did. Zane, cool of you to join us, dude. Again, thank you for taking time out of your day to talk with us about all of this nonsense. It was really fun catching up with you. One more time, make sure you follow Zane everywhere online at Zane Melton Comedy. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or say before we call it a night?
A showcase that I'm hosting by 31st Bill at a bar Patrick's. Some really heavy hitters on that splat. So it's always going to be a good time. That being a monthly showcase, so we'll definitely get a bunch of different comedians on. Our next installment will first. So if you can't make it out to this show, to the 21st same bar, Hat Tricks in Louisville.
For legal reasons, I do want to make it very clear that the Best Darn Diddlery or Best Darn Everything show would never encourage our listeners to go to Hat Tricks, but go ahead.
This podcast does not support Hat Tricks, and that I also come see me on Monday nights at be named. But yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. And this has been an amazing time. And yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Thanks for coming on again. Really great to have you. Richie, what about you, sir? Obviously, everyone can follow you online at thewiz_kid23, and they should be already. But do you have anything else that you'd like to say before we call it a night?
Yeah, the same spiel we do every week. Miles tried to find a tricky way to throw my Twitter handle in there so that he can keep the flow of our natural end of the conversation going. So that man right down on the other side of the screen, you can follow at Mr. Most Days Off. That's all over social media. I'm sure that he performs occasionally at other venues other than the one that was mentioned previously. But you can follow our show at Best Darn Diddly. That's Diddly. He's been Simpsonified on our screen now. I hope he's okay. So yeah, if you love The Simpsons or any other nerdy shit, check us out. Obviously, you already are.
I'm not gonna lie, I totally cut out during your whole spiel, but I assume it was great. And on that note, we will be back, the WizKid and I, next week to talk about another Simpsons episode. We teased it last time already. It's gonna get weird because we are talking about Bart to the Future.
And there's three of us here. So I'm really glad, as creative persons on this podcast, I think we hit a hat trick.
I feel like we should all pose in the Spider-Man pointing at each other meme to end this out. And of course, until next time, be cromulent to each other.